All right. Welcome to the Strong Side Podcast. My name is Mitchell Black, and I'm your host. And today we have one of our amazing Strong Side members on. We have Lindsey Hedlund, and we're going to be talking about Jiu Jitsu. That's a new topic for the Strong Side Podcast. Lindsey, you're going to learn a lot about her. Does Jiu Jitsu, dominates Jiu Jitsu, beats up a whole lot of dudes in Jiu Jitsu, and has an extreme passion for women's self-defense. She's done women's self-defense classes here at the gym. She does it at her gym on a regular basis, and it's a really neat, I think, women empowerment or just people empowerment type topic and thing that we're going to dive into. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Lindsey
you
Hedlund.
so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're excited. Yeah.
This is like next level Strong Side.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You get to see the whole back end.
I know,
Yeah,
where the
crazy.
magic happens.
Yeah, on milk crates. Like if you can fast forward to the beginning of this, or fast forward to the beginning, rewind.
Rewind.
Yeah.
Be kind, rewind. That's like, I think you're dating yourself though. I don't think we rewind anymore, do we? What do we do?
No, but I don't think
I don't know what the new term is.
I haven't heard that in 20 years. Yeah,
I'm so old, Mitchell.
That was on Blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that was good. Be kind and rewind.
Now, like my kids don't know what a VHS is. So, yeah, I had that conversation with my oldest actually.
Soon they're not going to know what a DVD is.
Right,
It's all just going to be streamed and digital.
Exactly. I mean, that's what they know now. Yeah.
I remember being in Blockbuster when DVDs came out, and we didn't have a DVD player. And I was like, that's never going to take off. That's never going to be a thing.
No.
A disc. You're going to put a movie on a disc.
Okay, so what about the red box though? And then it became the blue box with the Blu-ray. Do you remember Redbox? You could go rent a DVD.
Well, they still have those. I actually saw one over the weekend because I was wondering.
I don't have a DVD player.
You don't have a DVD player?
It's all digital.
I don't think I do either.
See? Yeah. But then, so Redbox went to like Blue Box or something like that, and it was for Blu-rays. And then we were like, that'll never work.
Remember putting all your DVDs in like a storage thing?
Yeah. And you had the big book of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to come over, watch a
Absolutely.
movie? Let's go through my DVD book. Yeah.
And you had like the super organized people who had the insert pulled out in with each disc, so they knew which spot it went to. That was not me. I had like 3 in one.
And then
one
some
slot.
genius just looked at it and said, okay, this is dumb. And let's do that. Man. Well, that's the beginning of the podcast,
Right, that's
ladies and
Jiu
gentlemen.
Jitsu in a nutshell.
How do I find a better way? Yeah. All right, man. So I'm excited for today. So first off, like I said, you and your husband, amazing members here, do a lot of cool stuff. But you're really famous in our world for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's something that you say as a hobby, but I mean, you're basically like, I mean, you do it like a professional. But so what do you do? What is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Jiu-Jitsu in general?
Yeah, so Jiu-Jitsu is a grappling sport. Everybody comes and they do like the hi-ya, you know, like the karate chops to me. And I think you did it to me once.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw you under the bus. Don't tell anybody I said that. But it's none of that. It's no striking. It's no, like if you look you watch the UFC, that's an MMA. That's mixed martial arts. So it's one of the martial arts that's kind of thrown into the mix. When they're on the ground, they're grappling. That's Jiu-Jitsu. So it's more of, if you think wrestling, but with wrestling, you're trying to pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat, right? In Jiu-Jitsu, you're trying to choke them out or apply a joint lock, which a joint lock is essentially where you're taking a joint and bending it the way it's not supposed to bend. So like if I took my elbow and bent it upwards, that would be an arm bar, right? And you can do it to shoulders, you can do it to wrists, you can do it to ankles, pretty much any joint that you have, that and choke. So we say tap, snap, or nap. So you can either tap out your opponent, which means they give up, you won the match. You can make them take a nap, which means you put them to sleep, you choked them out, or you can snap their joints.
So what is it again? Say it again.
It's a gentle art. That's what they say.
But
it sounds violent.
No, say what you said.
Tap, snap, or nap.
Got it. No,
Those are your options.
What about your shoulder? Like your shoulder?
Shoulder lock.
Oh, so it doesn't move.
Right. You just bend it, basically bend it in the way that it's not supposed to bend.
Okay. I was just asking that because like your shoulder moves like in all directions. Don't show me.
Are you
please.
sure?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. So tap, snap, or nap. Got it. So all right. So that is really interesting. How did you like get there? Like so you're there now, but like at 6 years old, were you doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, definitely not. So I grew up. I was one of those girls who. You know, like I was always kind of into the boy sport. I wanted to play football. I wanted to do what all the guys were doing. There's a meme that's going around Facebook that says I had Barbie dolls, but only because my Ninja Turtles needed girlfriends, right? And that was me. I had the Ninja Turtles, and like the Barbies were just whatever. But so I grew up. My mom was actually a high-ranking brown belt in karate. So grew up in a very female-empowered household. I got into WWE. I was a big fangirl of WWE, Ric Flair, like that whole thing. Yes, exactly. So actually 1 year for Valentine's Day, I got tickets to the Royal Rumble. So that was pretty cool. Shout out to Radar for the best Valentine's Day gift for that
That's
year.
awesome.
But from wrestling, I went to something a little less scripted. I don't want to say it's fake. I'll just say less scripted. I don't want to offend people. So then I became a fan of the UFC. And when we moved to Atlanta, actually, you know, I told Ray, I was like, I'll go to Atlanta with you, but I want to start training martial arts. Like, I want to get into this. And he was like, that's cool. We'll figure it out in the schedule. Got pregnant, so that, you know, got postponed a little bit. But we have two daughters. We put our oldest daughter in a jiu-jitsu program initially when she was in kindergarten. We went through and we looked at all the different martial arts and we said, which one's going to be the most applicable for her in the real world, right? If she gets attacked at school, if she gets attacked, fast forward to like when she's a teenager and she's on a date and something happens that she doesn't want to happen, what's going to be the best one that's going to give her like a foundation for defending herself. And so when we looked at all the options that we had, we picked the one that didn't rely on strength and it didn't rely on power, because most likely she's going to be a small female, like her mom's a small female, right? And a lot of the sports that require punching, that require kicking, that's all muscle. That's, you know, how much power can you put into a certain move? Whereas jiu-jitsu uses angles and leverage to overcome often a bigger opponent. So that's one of the reasons that we picked jiu-jitsu. And so she started training. She trained for a couple of years, and I was like, I got to get in here. Like once Finley, our youngest, got a little bit older, I was like, this has got to happen. So for I think it was my 34th birthday, my family gave me my first gi. And so the gi is like the outfit that you wear when you're training. Okay. It's one of your options.
Like that like white thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. They come in different colors, but traditionally I know what you're picturing, with the belt tied around the waist and everything. So I got my first gi for my birthday like 3.5 years ago or so, and I've been going ever since. It's addicting.
So like the leverage thing, the entire, I mean, I get what you're saying about wrestling and stuff. The intent is that the goal of learning jiu-jitsu would be that a smaller, you know, pound for pound weaker person can overtake a larger person, because you're using
100%, yes.
body. Like if I weigh 150, my goal is to overtake somebody that weighs 250.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And for a long time, you know, it's a very male-dominated sport. The female population is definitely growing. Our school, especially, I mean, our females are just, you know, like they're coming in droves, and I love that. I absolutely love that. But, I mean, for the first year and a half or so, I was fighting guys that were 200 plus pounds every time because I didn't have any options. I was the smallest person in the school. You know, I think we had one other female who was my size for a while, and so it was nice to train with her, but I can't train with her every round, you know? So definitely when I started, that's all I knew was fighting bigger opponents and stronger opponents. And there was a long period of me just getting smashed like every day, just having my face pounded into the mats. And
do they like, I've never wrestled a woman. Like, do they care? I mean, like
some do.
Like,
some do.
Do you feel like the male is reserved, or are they like, bro, you signed up for this?
So there's one of two options typically. I never get anything in between. I get the guy who's like, I'm not going to tap out to a girl. This girl isn't going to beat me. And he's going to put like all of his power and his strength into it. But he knows absolutely nothing about what he's doing. So it doesn't really matter.
He's just tired.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. Good job for getting sweaty. Like, I don't know. You didn't do anything. And then you have the other guy who's like, I don't know where to put my hands. This is awkward. So it takes a minute for both of those to kind of come to where like you have a teammate now, you know what I mean? And we have a lot of really good male teammates at our school. So
is it kind of like dancing? Like that's kind of like,
I don't dance.
well, me neither.
I dance like Elaine.
I know exactly
right.
what you're saying. I didn't know we were the same age going to Blockbuster and watching Seinfeld at the same time.
That's right.
But no, I like Bianca, one of our members. She's a dance
She's
instructor.
amazing. I've seen I Facebook stalked her the other day.
But
she's so good.
Shout out Bianca.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
But I mean, I get that. Like if I was to dance or wrestle another woman, that would probably be my first thought. I don't want to like touch something I'm not supposed to touch. And
you know, it's going to happen. It's accidental, but
what you're saying is there's that level. At some point, you become like, okay, I'm a professional.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We're partners. We're here to jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
And it's just part of me choking you out. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, yeah.
And so obviously I'm a big fan of our school, right? Like I want to talk about jiu-jitsu as a whole, but I'll probably target a lot of things at Warrior in Canton. And then we have another school in Ackworth as well. They like the people that we have there, the males that we have there, a lot of them, they have wives that train. So they already know, like it's not awkward for them anymore. They're teammates. And when you have that leadership and those higher belts that know how to behave, I guess.
Yeah.
It trickles down. So that awkwardness goes away very, very quickly.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just like this is part of what we do.
Yeah.
But so you've been doing this a while. What belt are you?
So breaking news.
Dun dun dun.
Last night I actually was promoted to purple belt.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it.
Bam. Where is it? Like is it purple at the bottom or like what is that?
So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu it's a very unique belt system. So different martial arts do it different ways. We have a dedicated kids belt system and they have a rainbow of colors because they can start like as young as 3 or 4. So they have a ton of colors, but at 16, they flip over into the adult belt system. So the adult belt system starts with white. Then you get 4 stripes on your white belt. Then it goes to blue. Then you get 4 stripes on your blue belt. Then to purple, 4 stripes, brown, 4 stripes, then black. And then like coral or red.
Was that like 16 steps? Is that 16, 20?
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Or no, that's 5. It's 20. Because you got to get the belt and you got to add 4 stripes. That's 5.
Right.
And there's 4 or 5 belts.
There's white, blue, purple, brown, black.
5. So 25 steps.
Not counting red.
Yeah. Steps. Yeah.
It's a lot of steps. And there's a lot of time in between each step.
So you're at purple, and then it goes brown, then it goes black?
Correct.
Hey, that's cool.
I'm so excited. Like, now I told my professor, like, now my training can start, right? Like, I've gotten the fundamentals out of the way. Now let's work on the fun stuff.
Is that what it is? By the time you reach purple, you've mastered a lot of it. Not the fundamentals are extremely important.
I haven't mastered anything.
Okay.
And that's something that I think a lot of even black belts will tell you. You'll never master anything, right?
Yep.
You'll focus on one thing, you'll get really good at it, and then you'll shift your focus, and then you got to go back. And it's it's 100% a learning process. And I think that's a big part of what draws people in because you're never going to master it. There's always going to be something else. There's always going to be somebody who can teach you, the new thing or a new way to do something, or even just refresh your memory on something that you knew before that you haven't visited in a long time. So it's a constant education.
We call that, I agree with you, and at StrongSide, we call that day 1.
Yeah.
I tell everybody on the team, what day is StrongSide is it? Day 1.
I love that.
We've never reached day 2 because the second that you reach day 2, like I also tell every member that you don't have muscle ups. Like you're just one step better. Like people get 5 double unders, like, oh, I got double unders now. No, you don't. No. You can just do 5.
Right.
And then I can do 100. No, you can just do 100. You don't have anything, right?
I love that. Yeah.
And when you start thinking about day 2, you reach this level of stasis. And after stasis is a steady decline followed by death.
Right. Yes.
So you should always be day 1. Always
because it's
be
a journey,
evolving.
right? Like you're never going to reach that finish line. That goal line is always moving. It's constantly moving forward. So you need to constantly move forward too.
Yeah. So that's cool. You got your purple. But how long will it take you to go from purple to black, you think?
Oh gosh. Barring injury, I don't know, maybe 4 years.
How often do you get injured?
Somebody's going to correct me on that. That's probably wrong.
How long do you get injured? You said barring injury.
Well, I mean, I'm almost 40, so I get injured walking down the stairs some days.
Took a deep breath too hard.
Right, I sneezed and threw my back out, which is
happened. But so you're purple belt, but you've competed a lot along the way.
I have. Yes.
So what is it? How does the competition work? Well, I'm guessing it's what you said in the beginning, right? What did you say? Bend and snap? What is it?
Snap, tap, or nap.
Tap, snap, or nap.
Yes. You got it. Black belt material.
Perfect. How does the competition work? How many have you done?
I don't even, at this point, I don't know number of competitions. I have, we figured out my record at one point. It was, I think, 24-7. I don't know if that's counting the most recent competition, 24, 26, and 7. So I've done a lot. I started early on. I started at white belt with 2 stripes, I think. So how the competitions work is you are put with somebody your same skill level, meaning like somebody who's been training for the same amount of time as you, and preferably somebody your weight, because there's not a ton of females out there competing. And like I said, the numbers are growing every day. Sometimes, you'll have to take somebody above your weight class or below your weight class or whatever. And then you're given, so you're paired up with an opponent, right? Your match, it could last, depending on what organization is hosting the competition, like maybe 4 to 5 minutes. And in that 4 to 5 minutes, you are trying to score points, and you can either win by points or you can win by submission. So submission being the tap, snap, or nap.
Got it. But so you mentioned a second ago, like level, like or somebody who's been training the same amount of time. When you say training the same amount of time, is like, am I just filling out a sheet and said I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 years? Because what if I'm like, oh, I've been trained 2 years, but I'm 100 times better than somebody else who's been trained in 2 years? So
a lot of that is, you do get that, right? It's at the discretion of your professor. And I don't know if I said the professor is what we call the black belt.
Got it. Okay.
So they should have you at a level and competing at a level that represents your skill set. Some people move up faster than others. They go through the belts, they get promoted. We had a gentleman last night, Keenan. He's like my hero, Mitchell. Like, he's so amazing, just a great person all around and a phenomenal athlete. And he actually skipped his last stripe on his blue belt, and they promoted him to purple because they're, you need to be at a higher level. And that doesn't happen often. You don't see a lot of people jumping like that. But he was definitely worthy of that because he's such a phenom. So I'm a big Keenan fan too.
Got it. Okay. So, and then like, if I go to a competition, how many times am I going to fight?
It depends on how big your bracket is. So I've been to competitions where there was 1 other person in my bracket. I've been to competitions where there are 10 other people in my bracket. It depends. Typically, you'll get to look like the night before and see kind of what you're in for. I actually have a funny story about one of the competitions I did.
Oh, good.
So I went, and it was Fuji is the company who hosts it, and I had signed up for gi and no gi, and we can talk about that in a second if you want to. But so signed up for gi and no gi. I had 1 person in my weight class in both of those divisions. So I had 2 fights, essentially, right? And they called me over to the table and they said, hey, we know you have 2 fights, but there's a girl who is a weight class higher than you to take those fights too, because she doesn't have an opponent. There's nobody signed up in her weight class. And I was like, yeah, sure. 4 fights total for the day. That sounds good. I'll probably, go against somebody heavier, might get my butt whooped, but whatever. It's all experience. It's all part of the journey. What I didn't know, because I was still very young in my journey, I still am very young, but Fuji does best 3. So I had not signed up for 4 matches. I had signed 12 matches.
Oh, no.
So that was a very, very long day. It went well for me that day. Actually, that was right before I got promoted to blue. And we ended up only having 8 matches because it was 2 out of 3. So I ended up fighting each girl 4 times, 2 in gi, 2 in no gi. But that was a long day. And I felt like, honestly, like such a noob because I was like, how did I not know that I was signing up for this many fights? That's a lot of fights.
That's a lot. Yeah. How many did you win?
I won all of them.
Shut up. That's the best part of the story. You're going to leave that out?
So yeah, it ended up being only 8 fights. Because I won.
Swept it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. You should leave it.
It was good. I got 4 golds that day. So that was a good day. It was an exhausting day. I think I'm still tired from that day.
That's awesome.
2.5 years ago.
That's kind of cool. What's been like the craziest things ever happened to you in a competition?
In a competition, so it didn't happen to me, but it happened to a teammate. We had, he went to choke one, and I guess the gentleman had just eaten like too much prior to competing, and because that, like, how much food you bring in is a huge thing during competition day. They're long days. You weigh in at like 7 a.m. You go home at 7 p.m. Like, they're long days. And he had just eaten before his match, and when my teammate went to choke him, he actually threw up on him. So that was kind of that was kind of interesting.
How does it? I would assume that you would just have to squeeze the stomach. I didn't know squeezing the neck.
Well, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. If you had him in a body lock, if he had him in, yeah. And, I mean, you've exercised a whole bunch leading up to the choke, right? So he could have been in a bad state before the choke sunk in.
Did he just make like a bad call and like have some Chipotle, or was it like you said, you weigh in at 7?
Right.
Like I had a bunch of buddies that used to wrestle, and they'd weigh in and like literally have Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits right next to them, and they're like, because you're trying to refuel as much as you can. So was it like he's an idiot thing, or was it was earlier in the day and he's trying to like repack on some weight?
He was probably, maybe a little, I don't want to say both. I don't want to call somebody an idiot.
Not the best choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe not a wise decision. But also sometimes you don't know when you're up. Like they could tell you, hey, you're going to fight in 2 hours, and then, change of plans. Like somebody got submitted over here. This bracket ended early. You're going now. So it could have been that.
Worst.
Yeah. We've had that before with our daughter where, we were walking off. We thought she was done for the day. And they were like, no, you have one more fight. So we're trying to rest. We're passing her over the fence, like to one of the coach, and like, all right, go fight. And she's like, what is happening?
That is the weirdest family dynamic.
Yeah. We have a family rule, like no jiu-jitsu at the dinner table and don't choke your sister at the dinner table. We're kind of an odd bunch.
What? So all 4 of you do it?
We do, yeah.
And do all 4 of you compete?
So far, Finley, who's our youngest one, she's 6. She has not competed yet. She's still just starting. So, but everyone else has. And
I mean, I know Aaron will straight up. So first off, you need to tell us why we call him Radar and not Aaron, because none of us can figure that out. And number 2, he says way better than he is. Like he's like, she'll beat me up every day.
He's so nice to me. No comment on that one. I love you, baby. So we call him Radar. When I first met him, he was with a group of fraternity brothers, and that was his fraternity nickname. So he had on like an army hat and glasses like Radar O'Reilly from MASH. So that was actually before our time. That was like before Blockbuster days. So, but anyway.
I saw MASH.
I watch reruns.
It comes on late at night.
Nick at Night.
Yeah.
So it comes from Radar O'Reilly from MASH.
Yeah, because I was talking to Bree, and she was like, do I call him, and she's our nutrition coach, she's like, do I call him Aaron or Radar? She's like, his email is Radar. And I was like, look, bro, I don't know. I have no idea.
I had a coworker, and I worked there for like, I think 1.5 years before he finally said, is that his real name? Like, where did his parents get that? And I was like, that's not his name. But he was introduced to me as Radar. I didn't know his real name until probably after we met. We exchanged, writing down on a post-it because we didn't text. He wrote it down on a post-it note and gave it to me, and I was like, oh, Aaron. Okay. Aaron, so he's always been Radar to me. He's Uncle Radar, to my nephews. When we said our vows, I threw Radar in there because that's how I know him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Feel
cool.
free to call him Radar. Anybody out there, just call him Radar. He likes it. You could call him a lot worse if we're being honest. So
that's cool, man. So how is he compared to how often you compete? He
just started training about 1 year ago. He had his first competition this summer, Tap Cancer Out. He did phenomenal in that. He had a very large bracket, and he did really well. He got bronze. That was his first competition. So I think he's planning it again, competing this year, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
That's cool. What we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and you said you had some really cool stories you were thinking about. What's like the craziest? Like, there's got to be some Matt stories.
Yeah. Some of them are family friendly. I'll share those with you. So our professor was, him and I were rolling one time. That's when we're fighting, we're rolling. That's what we call it. So we were rolling one time, and earlier we were talking about the gis, right? So the gis, the jacket that you wear, and our whole focus, especially this one, focuses a lot on lapel work, meaning I'll take your lapel, I'll wrap it around an arm to trap an arm, or I'll wrap it around your throat to get the choke.
Because I can use the gi as like your opponent.
It's a weapon, 100%.
I can use it against you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Which translates over into real life, like hoodies and stuff. So I walk around and see somebody with strings hanging on. I'm like, oh.
They could die. They don't even know.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even know. So we were rolling, and he had me tied up in my own gi, right? Like I'm sitting here, like I can't move my hands. I've got these little baby T-Rex arms. I can't move. And it's just, Mitchell, it was embarrassing. And so then just to make it worse, he FaceTimes Radar during the call. So not only like, is he fighting with me? I'm not putting up, like, he's just completely dominating it. Obviously he's got me tied up. I can't move. He reaches over, grabs his phone, dials radar, FaceTimes with him before he gets he pulls the choke tight enough to get the tap. So somebody actually caught that on camera and that's on Instagram somewhere. So that's fantastic. I love that. That's, go highlight reel for sure. And then we had the same guy. So he was rolling with another student. And so him and the one student are fighting here. And, you've got a bunch of people fighting on the mat when you're training. The other fighters are here, and they get just too close to each other. So which happens, sometimes you'll bump into people. He reaches over, grabs the lapel from people that are fighting next to him. This is it to show that he's fighting and get the tap that way. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I can't even with this.
What's been sometimes you'll just work out or train with people that are so on a whole nother level.
Yes.
I mean, how often does that happen where you're like, dude, this unicorn monster knows more than I could ever forget?
Oh my gosh. Like every time I go train, I feel like we have a lot of really talented people at our school.
Is it pretty humbling?
It's the most humbling experience ever. And I mean, speaking to that, you have these guys come in that have best egos ever. And, they clearly work out. They're walking in like they can't put their arms down because their muscles are so big, that type thing. And they just get humbled on the mats, by people much smaller than them. So, excuse me, they often put like the smaller opponents, the more technical opponents that have been training for a long time with those guys to kind of say, this is what you're dealing with, right? So we've had a lot of people come in, talk a lot of on the mats, and then just get their world wrecked afterwards, which is, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of funny. It's nice to watch.
That's awesome. So going into the next part of the conversation, you do a lot with women's self-defense and stuff. Yeah. And you did an awesome class, 2 months ago or something here.
Sure.
And that thing was packed out.
It was so much fun.
You taught all of our members or all of our lady members how to I didn't know when I saw the picture, I didn't know women were going to be on other women's backs, learning how to choke out another woman.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you teach it. What made you go down that path or thinking about it or what?
Yeah. So I said it's a very male dominated sport, right? If you go to any jiu-jitsu school, a large, 90% are going to be guys in there. Something that I saw in our own school, we had a lot of moms, because we have a massive kids program, a fantastic kids program, probably best in the area. And the moms were like, oh, I want to do that, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to do it, but I don't want to do it. And so there was the interest there. But when you think about, they were like, I would never compete. I learn how to fight. I don't want to go in the UFC. I don't want, you know what I mean? That type of idea. And they're like, I don't want that. But it would be cool to know how to defend myself. So it was kind of a movement that started from our members at the school. And they were like, I would be interested if you did a women's self-defense program. I would love to come to a women's self-defense program. And so I started researching it and attending different self-defense programs in the area, right? Because I do jiu-jitsu for sport, and it's an entirely different mindset than jiu-jitsu for self-defense. So I had to get my head wrapped around that mind. This was after I'd already been training for over a year when I started doing this. Went through various programs. There's a fantastic program online through Gracie University. I completed that program. So I probably did about 200 hours of study just in self-defense alone. Earned my pink belt through the Gracie University. And then sat down with our professors and said, okay, what do we need to do to get a ladies self-defense class started? And they said, you've got to come up with a curriculum. You've got to hit these parameters. And I worked with some of the other girls that we have at the school and did that. And it was just a fantastic time. We did the first program, wrapped it up at the beginning of summer. We had 27 people graduate from that program. They earned their pink white belt. So our second phase will be a solid pink belt, and then we're going to follow up with a pink and black belt. So it's a 3-phase self-defense curriculum that we've developed, and the last one is actually going to involve some weapons. So that's really cool for me. I'm excited about that. But it's a fantastic program. It's brought in so many ladies that otherwise wouldn't try jiu-jitsu, right? And for me, I get so excited about this because Jiu-Jitsu really taught me like how powerful I can be, right? I mean, I'm a little girl, like, I'm working on my bench press in here, but it's not great right now, Mitchell, I'll admit to you. I want to feel powerful, and jiu-jitsu, through using angles and leverage, it enables me to do that. And so for me to be able to share that with other people and to teach them, hey, if you get attacked by some guy who's twice your size, he doesn't know what he's doing, but you can still dominate the fight, right? Even if he pushes you over, even if you're on the bottom, you still have opportunities to defend yourself. And when they see that kind of like light bulb moment, right, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'll show them maybe a mount escape and show them how easy it can be if you're breaking the table. So some of the ladies who came to the program probably remember us breaking the table, and they see how easy that is, and they just, we get like these giggles, like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, that's it, that's the moment I love. And seeing that on their, I'm so strong and I'm so powerful, by using my angles and leverage. And for me, when I first taught, like the first few women that I taught, and I saw that moment happen, that light bulb come on, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I want more of this. I want to teach people. I want to show them like what they can achieve and how far they can get with this sport. So that was definitely probably my, like the driving factor behind it. I get so excited to see other people learn.
No, that's awesome. Like that empowerment tool is so key, and maybe you can speak to that, because like we have a lot of women. So like obviously our gym, hey dude, we'll welcome anybody, that's fine. But for whatever reason, we're dominantly women. So it's like,
I love it. I
think we have like, let's say 65% women or so here. And
awesome.
And the first thing out of all of their mouths, like 90-something% of the time, is can't. That's all we hear. Like it's like, I want to empower these people and these women so much, because it's like they're trained to think can't. And what I mean by that is like, I want to come to the gym. I can't do that. I would love to pick up that bar, but I can't. I would love to lose this, but can't, right?
Yes.
And all of that happens. They're saying that before they even try.
Okay, go get your milk or soapbox, because get up on it and start preaching right now, because you just hit on a nerve of mine. And that's something that I've learned through jiu-jitsu, right? Like I've started to recognize all the I can'ts that come out of my mouth. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. Just get rid of it. Like, stop it. Just stop it in your vocabulary. But when you sit down and think about it as a society, and this is not based on any scientific study, but I would dare to say, growing up in the South, that especially Southern women and the society that they're grown up in, we're taught to be, very complacent and to be submissive, very passive. We're not at all empowered, because we're supposed to be the caretakers, right? We're supposed to make sure that everybody else is taken care of, not us. And so when we come into a gym like StrongSide or a jiu-jitsu school and we're working on us, that's completely outside of our monkey sphere. Like we've never had to think about us before. And that's something that I preach a lot in my self-defense classes, because the first thing you have to realize is that you're worth defending, right? And there's no can't, there's no I won't, I'm not worthy, any of that, right? If you push all that aside, everything that you've grown up with, everything that you've been taught, how to look, how to act, what to say, how to behave in public, push aside, especially when it comes to your personal safety, because none of that matters. And that's actually, so the group that I lead is called the Mean Girls, right? And that's where the name comes from, because there's a name that's kind of thrown around to a woman who is, a very assertive woman who says certain things, and we won't repeat it here, but when you ask somebody what they mean by that, oh, she's just mean. She's just a mean girl, So we've embraced that. And when it comes to your personal safety or even your mental well-being, be a mean girl, because nobody in this world is going to stick up for you except for you. You know what I mean? Stop saying I can't. Stop thinking that you're not worth it. You are worth, every hour that you put into this gym just as much as anybody else. And so that idea of women accepting, this assertive personality and pushing down all the nonsense that they've been taught and brought up with, when that happened for me, it was completely eye-opening and revolutionary. And I was like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. This flips the script on everything. And so for me, it's not just like jiu-jitsu. Yes, it's a sport, it's fun, it's a hobby, but it's also allowed me to change my outlook on life and my idea of self-worth and what I am and am not worthy of. So yeah, it's amazing for me to see a lot of women kind of have that relation too and say, I'm not going to be what I was always told to be. I'm going to stand up for myself because dang it, I am worth it. You know, I have just as much right to be here as anybody else.
Did you like that before you got into jiu-jitsu?
No. And I grew up in a heavily female empowered house. But you know, I grew up in Mayberry, basically, Tennessee, and this tiny little town. And, you know, acted a certain way. We looked a certain way. You know, I had to have the Barbies. I couldn't have the Ninja Turtles. And so even though my family said, hey, you can do whatever you want, go out, get all your dreams, we support you no matter what, it was that social pressure to act a certain way, be a certain way. And so we go over, one of the first lessons that we go over in my class is speaking out loud, right? And having the proper tone and like being assertive verbally. And I'll tell you, Mitchell, I can't say how many times at this point in my life that's helped me, you know, overcome what could be a potentially bad. And it's very timely. But last night, so I was coming home from jiu-jitsu. We have a very late class that ended. And then I stopped at Kroger to get something. There was this guy in his truck. I saw him when I walked in. We made very awkward eye contact, you know, and I'm in my fighting clothes, so they're very tight. And it was just a very awkward moment. So I knew he was there, walked in, came out. He was still there. He gets out of his truck and he starts approaching me and he was like, hey. And at that point, I guess my training kicked in, and I was like, hey, wait right there. You're good. You know, don't take any step. Like, don't take another step. You're good. And then he proceeded to call me that word that we often refer to Mean Girls as, and then just walked off. And I don't know what he was coming to say. Obviously, it wasn't too important because he just walked off. But that's a lesson that I try to very early on, and we actually talked about it here at StrongSide, because it's so eye-opening to women that I can speak out and I can tell you to stop and you're making me uncomfortable. And just saying those words for a lot of women, it's so awkward. And you practice it, it's muscle memory, right? We all have our own phrase we can say when we feel uncomfortable. And I tell them, you know, find whatever works for you. Mine is stop right there. You're making me uncomfortable for whatever reason. But you have to practice saying it. You have to develop that muscle memory and that mental strength to say it, to lay down your boundary. And we go over the scenario of 3 things that can happen when you do this. You set up that boundary with someone else. You say, hey, stop right there. He can either accept it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was making you uncomfortable. I just needed directions to the Walmart, whatever. So he can accept it. He can dismiss it, which means that you say, hey, stop right there. You're making me uncomfortable. He doesn't even acknowledge the fact that you spoke, and he just keeps coming towards you. At that point, when you tell him to stop and he doesn't, that's when the self-defense starts. That's when the fight starts. He can be 20 feet away. That's when it starts, because he has already declared his intentions to you. He doesn't care about your safety. He doesn't care if you feel comfortable. He doesn't care about anything on your feelings, right? So the fight starts, and if you can have that fight start 20 feet away from you, 10 feet away from you, that gives you all the more opportunity to escape, right? To look around what your resources are, to see if there are any bystanders, see if there are any weapons, see if you can get back in your car, whatever the case may be. And then the third thing that I tell people to watch out for is they can be deceptive. And what that means is they could say, hey, stop right there. You're making me uncomfortable. Oh, no. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. You know, I just need directions on my phone. But all the time they're saying, hey, I respect you. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. They're still walking towards you. So they're saying that they respect you. They're not acting like they respect you, right? And they're not acknowledging you physically. So when you tell them to back up, watch their feet. If they back up, you're good. If they keep coming, I don't care what words are coming out of their mouth. That's when you escalate it, right? You start screaming, you start looking to see what the next thing needs to happen, whether it's fight or flight. But the faster that you can acknowledge when the fight starts, the better. And because we are raised to not be argumentative, not be assertive, that's usually the biggest struggle for women in my class. You know, everybody's giggling. They're like, oh, you're making me uncomfortable. And they're not making eye contact. This is your friend brought to class, and you can't even look her in the eye and say, you're making me uncomfortable. How are you going to tell a man that, you know, when you have a bunch of people looking at you and judging you? That's what you think, right? You have to get over that mindset, because you are worth defending. You are worthy of the space that you're in right at that moment. Sorry.
No, that's good. So, like, if somebody was
I apologize. Why did I apologize? This is my soapbox. I know.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm learning. Another thing I noticed, we were at Walmart, actually, Radar and I were, and we walked in front of some people who were blocking the aisle, and he said, excuse me. And I said, I'm sorry. Like, why did I say I'm sorry? They're blocking the aisle. Excuse me. I have just as much right to be here as he does. But he was raised to be and I wasn't.
No, that's a really good point. Do you ever, like, I think I'll understand it, and I think you'll understand it. I don't know how much a listener is going to understand it, and I hope they do. I can see this, like, aha moment or epiphany moment in our members. And I'll have somebody come in, and we cannot, it never happens on the first day. The first couple of days, we're just like, dude, this is a kettlebell. This is a bike. Like, because we want back, right? Sure. But like this, you kind of like go journey here, and you figure out what you like, and you figure out which things you don't like, and you figure out real quick the bike's terrible. But then you start figuring
on that.
Yeah, you start figuring out like your preconceived, what I'm automatically good at, what I'm automatically not good at. And then I'll watch somebody that they never thought they could do, because they've already preemptively, hey, I swung a kettlebell before, that didn't go well, I just am terrible at swinging kettlebells. And then they do it, and you just watch them light up. And no other member in the room can see that. That's why I said that, like, I don't know if the listener will see it, but I can see it. That's the day.
Yes, the stars aligned, the heavens opened up, the angels came down, and like, oh, we're singing on that person.
And that's how I feel like we've been people, because to me, I'm like, when you came in here, just to get in here, like, I know what you felt. I know that you didn't feel secure in your body. I know you didn't feel comfortable. You're walking into a room about, I can't do this and I can't do that. And finally, we just made you feel good about your life and feel like a winner for 5 minutes. Like, where do you see that in jiu-jitsu? Is it like when they finally choke somebody out?
I think it's when various places. I think it depends on your background, where you're coming from. So for a lot of people, you've got that ego moment, right? And you're coming in with a high ego, and you have to get broken down. You have to realize, hey, you may be big and strong. You don't know how to, perform an arm bar. You don't know how to perform a rear naked choke. And then they kind of crash and they break down, and then they start building back up. And then when it sinks in and you can see they've used no muscle, they've used no strength, it's all technique, and they're just flowing through it, and it lines up perfectly. It's that I think for a lot of people, especially a lot of very active, very strong people, that's the one moment where they realize. I think for the women mostly who are coming in with I don't want to roll with a guy, the very like timid personalities, the second that they get someone bigger on top of them and they realize that they can break the table and sweep them over and end up on top, that's the moment. It's the mount escape. And actually, I'm also a big fan of Ashley Lord's. I'm a big fan of a lot of people at StrongSide. Okay. It sounds like. She was here for our self-defense, documenting it. She was taking pictures and video, and I showed that mount escape, and that mount escape for me moment, like the moment. And I showed that, and she was like, I got to get in here. I got to try this. And she did it, and just the cheers and the laughter and the smiles, it was amazing. And those are the moments, like those aha moments that you call them, like I just live for. I feed off of it, right? Yeah. You crave it. Like I want that every single day of I want to see somebody light up like that and understand and put it together and go, I can do this. I'm worth this. I'm powerful. I can do more than I thought I ever could. And for me, that's what I feed off of.
Those are the golden words you want to hear from coaches. Oh my God. Like that is like just awesome. They're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thanks.
So where do you coach and how often do you coach?
I coach up at Canton Warrior. It's off exit 14. And so I help out class. The women's class is the one that I lead, and we're starting back up end of August. And then, I train typically, it's either me or train night.
Okay. You guys you're not there at the same time, you swap off?
Only when the kids aren't in the house. So we trade kid duty each night. So
Gotcha.
like I said, I work a really full schedule. So we work all day, usually come to StrongSide at lunch. And then one day I'll take kids to the kids class, coach that class, or help coach that class. And then he'll train that evening. And then the next night we switch.
That's cool. How did you guys wind up here?
So I've been training jiu-jitsu for a long time, right? And we have, I've told a lot of people that StrongSide is actually, it's so much like my jiu-jitsu school. It's kind of scary. And that's what I was looking for. So I had a community. I had a tribe that I could fall back on. And, they were my family. And because we don't have a lot of local family. And I was like, they are my family. And at the time, Radar didn't train. And I said, I want them. So I went actually searching, went to a bunch of different gyms in the area, and I was like, I want to find a gym that has a family, that has this really, really strong community. He can do the work. Any gym, can show you the results if you show up long enough. I want something that's going to be his tribe. And so I remember I called you, and I was like, hey, information on your gym, and you were like, oh yeah, it's fantastic. And the energy just instantaneously when I got you on the phone, I was like, oh, I like this guy. This guy's kind of okay, he's fun. And so I came in and I met, and I think it was you and Amber, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, these people are happy to be at work. Like, they enjoy being here. There was so much laughter. There was a class going on. Everybody was high-fiving. It was amazing. And so that moment when I walked in here, I was like, this is a community. Thing that you actually stressed to me while we were, talking about, what your gym stands for and the values that it holds. And so I was like, this is where he needs to be. So I bought him a membership for Christmas, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas prior. And he joined, and he was like, oh, this place is legit. I like this place. And I was like, I thought you would. So then COVID hit. Womp, womp, yep. Right? And everything shut down.
He was here 3 weeks.
Yeah. And then I saw the efforts that you guys put in through COVID. Well, we both did, right? And that's kind of what sunk the hook in. When you loaned out your equipment to the members, and we were like, oh my gosh, this guy is either absolutely insane or he has a family that he's looking out for, right? And it's his gym family. And we want to be a part of that, and for you to make that sacrifice and take that risk, because you don't know where your equipment's going. You have it signed out, but you have to trust your members explicitly to be able to do that. That's so much of your assets, right?
Yeah, we don't have your social security number. We're going to put a lien on your house.
Right, right. You're not getting it back if they take it.
Swear to God, that agreement was please bring it back. Appreciate you. Thanks.
To see you guys do that, you really walked the talk. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, we've been hearing all this lip service about community, but they really mean it. This is legit. They're the real deal. This is a family. And so that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to start. And I've been here for not quite a year. I think I started in August of last year. So yeah, we have officially drunk the Kool-Aid. Side.
Well, that's awesome.
Bright green Kool-Aid.
Because I was 100% sure that I was never going to see you guys again.
No way. Well, tell me more. I want to hear.
Well, because I remember you came in and you would just I talked to you on the phone, but I didn't even really catch your name. I don't feel like I remember this conversation because you were like, well, it's not for me. I might get my husband or whatever. And
I was so burned out on gyms when I came here. I was like, this is the 12th gym that I went to.
Yeah, and you were very unenthused when you came in here. I remember this. And okay, that's a lead for on down the road, maybe. You put those on the email list, and one day they bite.
Gotcha.
And yeah, you just walked in, and we made you a little gift certificate and sent you home. And I was like, I don't know her husband's name. I'm like, so
you still don't. You think it's Radar?
Yeah, some dude's gonna come in here, and I was like, yeah, never. I was like, that was a donation, is what I thought it was, and until you started. Because I realized how much information I didn't have. I was like, I don't know where this gift card's going.
I probably didn't offer it. It's awkward.
So no, that's been really cool. And you joined in August. You did your first competition here in October.
That's right.
Because you partnered with Ashley.
I did. Yeah. So that's something that I absolutely love about this place. It's the people here are continuously pushing you outside of your comfort zone. And I said it before, I'll say it again, that's the that you're going to grow. Like when you asked me to do this podcast, I was like, that scares the crap out of me. Let's do it. Right? Because it's so uncomfortable for me. I don't like being of attention. I don't like talking, despite what my husband probably says. But that's the only place that you're going to grow, right, is outside of your comfort zone. So let's do it. And that's something that people here are constantly pushing you. Oh, I can't do a pull-up. Try it.
Yep.
Try it. You know, I can't do a kipping. Just try it. Just try it.
That is literally, and I try to be so professional about it, and I really do feel like I'm giving a good service. That's what I tell people. They're like, how do I get a pull-up? And I'm like, well, like, I don't know. And I'm like, try. And because if you got to see where you're at to like grow.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm just thinking about like, because I love being out. I hate it, but I love being outside my comfort zone. And I remember like when I started as a trainer, I had no clients. You work on commission, and they made us wear this stupid red vest, and you'd wear a red vest, and that was your signal.
I'm picturing like a safety vest.
I looked like a lifeguard. And it was your cue to the members that the trainer in the red vest is available for questions and not busy. And I had to walk around this stupid gym with a red vest and go freaking, people got their earphones in. And I'm like, hi, I would like to sell you some personal training. I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever. But you know how good that made me at talking to people?
Get you out of your comfort zone.
That got me so far out of there.
And look, that's a skill set that you use today. You know what I mean? Like you just, it snowballs.
Oh yeah, you need to live out that, because like all the good things are outside, and I hated every minute of it. But I look at today, and I'm like, I can talk to anybody about anything.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So when are we embracing the green vest here at StrongSide?
We should. Right? When you're not coaching, you have to wear the green vest. And that's your indicator that members can come ask you questions.
Right. Otherwise, you're off limits. Don't talk to them.
So dumb. God, that was dumb. Well, what's next with Mean Girls and Jiu-Jitsu and stuff?
So we're starting up our second program. Something new that we're doing is actually it's going to be a rolling enrollment. So you can come join. Originally, we had you sign up for the 12-week program. You have the 12 weeks. Nobody can join in that 12-week period because we're just focusing on the basics, and each lesson is building. We're treating the fall session more like a regular jiu-jitsu class. So they're going to come. If they need to come this week, they need to miss next week. It's going to be open to whoever wants to come that day. So excited about it. We're going to be focusing on a lot of concepts for self-defense because, I've said it before, you're not going to remember anything that you learn in a 2-hour class in 3 years, right? But if I can teach you the concepts, establishing that verbal boundary, breaking that table, that hold on to. So we're going to work on instructions. That'll be completion of our solid pink belt. But if you don't have your pink and white belt yet, because you have to get white to get your solid pink, then you can still learn the basics. You'll still be able to test for your pink and white belt. And then ultimately achieve your solid pink belt, with hopefully the end goal being some ladies who decide to stick with us through the pink and black belt.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome.
I'm so excited about it.
Well, look, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah,
you're
this was fun.
Amazing guest. I think you're doing great things
Thank you.
with jiu-jitsu.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be part of that family and a part of the StrongSide family too.
Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming. And you guys should definitely check out, what's the name of your studio?
Warrior.
And go get you some lady self-defense.
Come choke somebody with me.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.